Hello and welcome. My name is Shimona, and today I am back with Ethereal Echoes of Yore. In this video, I kind of want to share all the tips and tricks that I have found while playing over the past 2 weeks. My goal is to not share any spoilers, more as to make some of the more uh, obscure mechanics to some of the players who may have been playing or planning to play, and to give you an idea of how to get the most out of your experience playing this game. So here we are. We are on the character screen. As you can see, I have been testing out assassins. Just this last patch, they nerfed some of the XP rates, but anyways, so you can go through character customization. We'll just be doing this for the sake of it. So the first thing to talk about is servers. As you can see, they all say low population. There are 3 different types of servers. There is a free-to-play server, there is a no PvP server, and there are just normal servers. So to break them down, the normal server is going to include everything in the game. So it is open world PvP, not excluding the Wildlands, which is basically the wilderness from RuneScape, a big open PvP zone that has no consequences and you drop all of your loot on death. The whole world will be open PvP with a sort of infamy system. I am not playing on a PvP server, so I'm not familiar with the infamy system, but it is not meant to be classified as... I mean, it is a PvP game, but the point of the game is not PvP. So you can kill people, you can gain infamy, but it will reduce your playability in the game, and yeah. So I don't want to deal with it, mainly because, as has been abundantly apparent, there are a lot of bugs, and people like to abuse bugs and ruin your experience. So on the no PvP servers, you do still have the option to go into the Wildlands, which again is a no rules PvP's drop all loot on death zone, and you can fight players there. You won't gain infamy as long as there's not a bug. And yeah, they'll also be having instanced PvP battlegrounds, and there will be open world clan wars. So you can kind of experience everything in the game on the no PvP server without the headache or risk of dying and losing items in the open world. So that's up to you how you want to play. And thirdly, there are free-to-play servers. So these free-to-play servers work differently than typical free-to-play servers in other MMO games, specifically RuneScape. So free-to-play server is basically a normal server that free-to-play people can play on the starting island. So if you create a character, you level him up, you decide you like the game, you want to subscribe, you can subscribe, and then you can go to the mainland on the free-to-play server. There are no character transfers, there are no name changes. Supposedly you're only allowed to have 1 character per server. Right now, as you could see in the previous screen, I can have 6. I don't know if that's because I'm on a no PvP server, or if that's something that will be changed at the release in 3 days. But we'll see. So if you're not sure about the game and you want to hop into free to play, I will say that the starting island is not what the mainland is like, but if you enjoy your experience enough in the free to play starting island, which is probably at least 10 to maybe even 20 hours worth of content, you could at least drop $10 and check out the mainland. But we'll go over more of that in a little bit. So yeah, 3 different types of servers, 3 different experiences. Play how you like. If you do decide to play, and you do decide to play on Silver Lake, which is the North American East no PvP server, hit me up. I am starting I don't want to say it's a guild because I created a server, Discord server, but I think it's slowly going to turn into basically a big guild, but that's the way things go. So loading in. First things first, you can skip the tutorial. Now, if it's your first time playing the game, I would highly not recommend it because it does go over a lot of different fundamentals and it's a nice step by step. But if you're making a second character, if you're going for launch day, all you have to do is, pretty much run to the boat, and I'll show you where in a second. Just stand on the dock. While we're running there, as you saw that popped up right at the beginning, there is a help journal. So as you do the tutorial, you will get a bunch of included mechanics in your journal, and it kind of explains everything you need to do. I will cover some of the things, but it will not be everything. So if you've never played before and you're interested in playing, I recommend reading this. There's a lot of information on how to play in here. So first things first, since we're running over here, let's take a look at the settings. There are two major things that I highly recommend you turn on, and I think they're both in... They're not both. One of them in the user interface, I recommend you disable the minimap rotation. If you see here, you can change which way your camera faces. There's only 4 directions your camera faces, and the way I'm doing this is I'm middle mouse button, clicking and dragging. So as you can see, I can turn. If I take off this option, as you see, I turn my screen, the minimap and compass changes with it. So you may like that, you may not. Personally, it is very confusing, discombobulating. It's nice to always know where north is north, south is south, west is west, no matter which way you're looking. Yeah. Another tip is you can click to move on your minimap. This is very helpful for many zones. You probably won't have much of an issue in the starter island, but when you get out to the mainland and there's a lot of natural barriers, there's a lot of walls, trying to figure out how to get around them on foot can be confusing. Whereas if you click on the minimap, it'll take you there if you can. If you can't, like if I click here in the water, unable to find way, it won't even try to make me go there. But as long as there's somewhere I can click that I have a direct path to, it will send it to you. I think there is another option now that I'm thinking about it. Is it controls? No. I thought it was an option, but maybe it's not. You can double click to move as well. So it is, you are able to control WASD, and that's probably how you will be doing combat and PvP. But if you're just kind of running around, you can double click to move around. You can click on the minimap to move around, etc. Another thing I recommend you do, at least for the time being, I like to disable grass. It does make the game look not as beautiful, but at the moment, grass does cover a lot of resource, not a lot, but it can make it hard to see and distinguish resources on the ground. And if you're a new player and it's kind of sensory overload, at least for me, disabling it fixes that issue. So those are all the changes I made. I also went to low quality just because there's not a huge difference. I mean, ultra looks great, but it turns my computer into a supernova. So I will play on probably probably just low. I like how the game looks on low regardless. Ultra does look a little bit nicer, but I also want to preserve the life of my computer. Alright, so here we are into the tutorial. You can just walk on those barrels. It pops up. You can hit yes. It will give you all of the journal entries that you otherwise would have gotten, and it will give you a new ability, and it will send you to the starting island. Again, this is a tutorial. Where we're headed is the starting island, and then again, after you finish the starting island, you can head to the mainland. So here we are. Again, I don't want to give much spoilers. You can press M to open up the map. You can zoom out. While we're here at the map, you can right click, add markers. You can make a title, add a description, and even choose a marker location. As you're meant to kind of only play on one character, again, you might be able to make 6 on one server, but I highly recommend utilizing these markers if you ever find uh, a resource you've never seen before, if you ever find a mob you've never seen before, if you find anything of interest, I recommend you map it because the starting island is small, but the main island is massive. And I just recommend marking everything. um, Another cool mechanic of this game is that you can literally type the characters. So you can right click, control. If you want to interact with a lot of things, you can right click some things, but many things you have to hold control while you right click. So this is me right clicking, nothing happens. Right click just targets. If I control right click, it opens up the menus and move to, follow, on target, talk to. So I can talk to him. Let me run away to reset it. Another thing I can do is if you walk up to NPCs, you can press spacebar to talk to them. And then you can continue through. And thirdly, you can run up to them and you can actually type to them. So you can just say hi. I'll just say hello to demonstrate. You know, he says something, I say okay. He asks me what I want to talk about. I'll tell him I want to leave to the mainland. And of course I can't leave yet because I haven't finished the starter island. I guess another pro tip, this is where you leave to the mainland. There's not many places that really talk about it. You can also just walk on this boat to leave, which is pretty cool. That's something I found out today. I wouldn't consider this a spoiler. This is more of just like, I guess maybe it's a little bit of a spoiler, but I'm sorry. Okay. What to talk about next? So yes, you can talk to people, you can type. This is one of the main mechanics of the game and something that the developers have said is important for discovering secrets. I think something that's really important to note is that this game is supposed to be full of mystery, full of secrets, and it truly is an exploration game. There are a lot of things hidden in the world that you need to find that isn't expressly shown, told, given. I'm sure you can find it online. I'm sure there are many things that have yet to be discovered. You would kind of have to discover recipes. And this mechanic of talking to people, you can say, you know, do you have a quest for me? Which the issues are technically quests. So there are 2 quests you have. But that's the example. I'm not too familiar with it, but that's kind of how things work. So you can talk to NPCs, things like that. Okay, sorry I had to take a second to step away, but the next thing I want to talk about, and this is most likely this is a bug, but you can talk to and trade NPCs through walls, as you can see here. This only works if you control right click. If you type in chat or you use the space bar to talk to them, you won't be able to interact with them through the walls, but if you control right click, you're able to trade through the walls. Another thing is this game has the stock shop mechanic. So if you have things that you want to sell to the vendor to make a little bit of money, going to a vendor who actually has those items will net you more money so long as their shop is low. So to start out with, most shops start with 10 out of 50 or 10 out of 30 of certain items. Like you can see here, these campfires are free. You can just, I don't know why I can't afford it since they're free, but there are some things that some vendors give away for free and you can kind of just take. So hempfire rares are really cheap. You'd probably rather just use those, get XP, rather than sell it to, or sell it to another player. There's many things like that. So, yeah, stock shops are player based. You share it across all players. Anytime there's a server reset or the servers crash, all the stock shops will be reset. So if you are looking to buy things from shops or you're looking to sell things from shops, make sure you are ready to go once a server resets or restarts or crashes. My recommendation is if alts are allowed and you're allowed to have more than one character, it is probably worth having alts logged out at different shops to be able to buy, sell what you need on server restarts, because I think that will be high in demand. To get 10 leather for 40 copper is such a good deal. To get 10 hemp fiber for 30 copper is such a good deal. I mean, these logs, I mean, it's not much, but when you're killing a mob that drops, 40 copper every time you kill one, I think you would happily trade 40 copper for 10 logs, even though 10 logs you can kind of get relatively fast. Some things are a little different. Leather's, pretty high value. Hemp fiber, kind of high value. Um, but again, it's kind of how you value. You'd rather be training combat, making money rather than, farming items. If you could buy those items, it's great. So, um, all right. Next thing is Patrick Stevenson. This may be considered a little bit of a spoiler, but let me save you a lot of trouble because I did not read a lot of the quest dialogue, or I didn't. I mean, I'll be honest, I just did not. I kind of like running through the game, figuring things out, and this is one thing that got me stuck and a lot of people stuck. Who's this? I don't know who that is. Patrick is a fisherman. More so yet, he owns this boat, and this boat is busted. So if I say hi, one of the main things he has here, and these words in blue are considered key words. So these are words that they are registered when they see. They will give you a prompt. So you can say where, and he can take you to pretty much any location on the map that he is also stationed. I don't want to spoil anything, but follow your quest. Your quest will tell you when you need to go to these different areas, and that's how that can work. Another quick tip, and this is probably going to be for those absolute gamers. If this is your first time playing through it, I would not worry about this much at all, but you can leave to the mainland in probably 5 minutes after making a new character. There are only 2 requirements that you need to complete to be able to leave to the mainland. First thing you need to do is you need to find the book. The second thing you need to do is you need to remove an item from a well. After you do those 2 things, you've completed all you need to do on the starting island to be able to leave to the mainland. For example, you can see we are almost here, level 4. I have not killed anything. I don't know if there's a way to show that, but as you can see, I can leave as soon as it decides to load. So this really does not have much use. You will probably get killed by anything and everything on the mainland, but if you need to have a character, you need to have an alt out on the mainland, it is certainly possible, and it's very easy to do. While we're here, let's kind of look at the infamy system. So infamy is not going to be a thing on PvE servers, but on your free-to-play and your normal servers, this is going to be the thing that penalizes you for killing other players. My understanding, and I have not tested this at all, so if you're interested in this more, you can probably go look at the developer blogs, or I'm sure there are other people who are out there doing PvP, but my understanding is that if you initialize combat with other players and you kill other players, your infamy level will go up, and this is something that can never be reversed. And the higher the infamy you get, the less welcome you are in the NPC establishments. So for example, this town, this dock, these guards would attack you. There are other NPC events that will happen. If your infamy raises high enough, you were pretty much never welcome in a town, and there's no way to reverse that. Similarly, there are death mechanics. So every time you die, it increases how punishing death is, how much XP you're going to lose, the chance of items dropped on death. Yeah, it can get pretty brutal if you die a lot. So, and my understanding is this number goes down relatively slowly. I think it's you get 1 death off your death counter maybe every 2 hours or so. I don't know the exact number. I've heard people say an hour, but I feel like it's a lot longer than that. This concurrent deaths doesn't seem to be as punishing on the starting island as much as it does the mainland, at least in terms of XP. I've only lost items once, and I probably died about 10 times across all my characters. And the one time I lost items, I was at a 0 death counter. So, uh, and what I lost was both of my weapons. No, you know what? I lost items twice. I think I lost my helmet once when dying. So, even if you're at 0 deaths, there's still a chance you lose your items. Um, I believe you can go back to your items, but both of the times I was so far away from my body, by the time I got back, it wasn't there. I believe other players can loot your items, but again, I'm not sure. So there is an infamy system. There's a reason to be good. Uh, Supposedly by the developers, it's not supposed to be PvP game. Um, However, you can kill people if you want, but you're going to be punished for it. Same with recent deaths. If we take a look at the attributes, if you played in the beta or the alpha, I was told that a lot of things were highly customizable, but they aren't. So you're going to have one primary stat, you're going to have a secondary stat depending on your class. In this case, it's Constitution, and you're going to have a third stat that's higher than the other two. So in the case of Assassins, Dex is my main stat. Dex, it says how nimble you are, but basically it scales the damage of your ranged weapons and your melee weapons. Constitution scales your health, and you can kind of read what everything else does, but primarily strength, dex, intelligence are the main attributes that scale how much damage you do. Constitution scales how tanky you are, and wisdom scales how much, mana, regen, and healing is done. So, 5 pretty clear paths. There are also some things to go over with weapons. Currently, one-handed weapons are way better than two-handed for a lot of the different classes. There are a few classes that would just prefer two-handers, but I expect this to be something that has changed. But right now, again, 2 one-handers are absolutely busted. What else is there to talk about? Oh, yes. All right, another little quick tip for you players at home is... Oh, geez. Let's drag you away a little bit. I don't want to die while I show this. All right. First things first, when you go to loot a mob, you can just right-click it to loot. Some mobs are rather small, can be hard to see, especially when you're playing with grass. Like, let me run over here so I don't die. We turn on grass. You can kind of see how that would be hard to see. Again, low graphic settings, they are easier to see things in grass, but if we come here and we play on ultra with grass, that's kind of difficult to see. It can be difficult to click, things like that. So while I show you these things, let me turn all this back off. First things first, again, you can right click a mob to loot it, but if you hold Alt, there will be bars that pop up under everything. So this will be under mobs, this will be under dropped items, and you can just click these names. It makes it a lot easier to loot. Second thing, if you hold Alt and you left click drag a corpse, you can move things around. So I think a good example of this, and let me find something to do it to. Let's do it to this thing. So, well, this isn't a great example, but sometimes you can kill corpses, kill things over resources, and it can be hard to, interact with that resource. As you can see here, I am clearly right-clicking on the resource, but my only option is to loot the spider corpse. You hold Alt, and you drag the corpse. There you go. You can now interact. Again, you can control right-click use. You can also control left-click to interact. And yeah, pretty easy. Control left-click is probably your easiest option. The same with monsters. Again, you can just right-click monsters, but there are different ways to interact with things in the world. As we head up to town, let me go over this other item. If you see right next here to the bottom, next to your skill bar, there are 3 black bars. If you click those and you click edit mode, you can edit your skill bar. So by clicking the check mark, you're finished. By clicking the plus, you can add additional ability slots. At the same time, you can remove them. But as you can see, it kind of just messes everything. And if you want to set keybinds or hotkeys, you just have to hover over the slot and press the key you want. So you see you can do control 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can do alt 1, alt 2, shift 2, shift 4. All right, next thing we're going to talk about is Leylines to give you some positioning on where this is. We are here on the starter island. This is the starter town of Farwood. If you come up to Central Square and you come up to the top left, so right here you've got the bank, you've got the librarian, you've got the currency exchange. You come up here, this is where the tailor is located, but most importantly, this is where the ley line is located. So this is a ley line you can use to teleport all over the world. Obviously I don't have a ruin yet, but there are 4 different options. There's the Cobalt Tower, Edgevine, which is pretty much the main city right as soon as you leave the starting island, and then 2 others that are out in the world. You do have to go find these ley lines in the world and get the ruin from the, I guess you could call them ley line guardians, to be able to teleport out there. If we talk to this guy right here, he should give us the ley line for both Farwood and the Cobalt Tower. Don't worry about going to the Cobalt Tower. That is simply just a quest area for some classes. If you need to go there, your quest will tell you to go there. Otherwise, no need to go there. Yeah, so very important. This does have approximately, I think it's either a 2 or 3 hour cooldown. So make sure you keep that in mind when you teleport somewhere. Don't leave something behind and don't plan on coming back for a while. Currently in the game, there is a /stuck command that is very handy and only has a 2-minute cooldown. It can be very useful with this, so you can take the ley line out, you can do whatever you need, and you can /stuck back. Depending on the zone, depending on where you are, usually it just takes you right back to the dock. Either on the mainland or on the starter island. It just depends on which zone you're in and where you use it. So, very handy at the moment. I can't imagine they would remove it just because there are so many bugs out there in the game right now. But maybe they'll add a different mechanic. Maybe they'll add more of a cooldown. Who knows? All right, the next one is going to be more of a PSA rather than an actual tip, but this guy and a couple of other NPCs, you have to be very careful where you leave your belongings. And I'll show you why. So let's put some seeds down here on the ground. Look at that sneaky little motherfucker. Hey, give that back. Yeah. So, if you drop items on the ground, especially in towns or around NPCs or where NPCs can go, you can expect your items get stolen. I bring this up because when you're playing alts, there's not really a great way to send items to your alt. You can send them through the postal service, as you can see this guy is currently doing, and that's by going to the mailbox here. You can use it, you can put an item in the mailbox, so let's put I don't know, let's put these bracers. What does that say? What? Oh, sorry. Mailbox, you can only pick up items. You have to go to the actual postal service. And the problem with the postal service is it is quite expensive to use. They charge you per stack. I believe they charge you if there are many items in a stack, I think they charge you based off of like how expensive the item you're shipping is. So if you're trying to send like 10 items to your alt, it's going to cost you probably about 10 silver. And 10 silver is quite a lot of money at the moment. So if you want to send things to your alts and you don't have friends you can kind of trade it over through, your best bet is to load up a backpack. I like to head over here, which I would not recommend ever doing. But as you can see, let me turn on a light. You know, let's say I've got this backpack full of stuff. I'll just drag it, throw it on the ground, and then I can log out, come over here on my alt, left click, drag it back into my inventory, and there you go. That's how you trade stuff between alts. It's very dangerous. People can steal it. Things can bug out, but that's how I do it. Hopefully I won't have to do it on launch. Hopefully I won't be having to play any alts, but we'll kind of see how that goes. All right, couple more things I thought of. As you can see here, the bag system is kind of a little wonky, but you can stack bags on bags on bags. So if I hover over here, you can kind of see this bag is right here, which is in this bag. And now if I take this bag, I can drag it into here. And now currently it's, you know, a system of 3 bags. And, you know, I can do the same thing here and the same thing here. So now, you know, this bag is in here, this bag is in here, this bag is in here, this bag is in here. Yeah, pretty cool, pretty neat. You just make sure you move them out one at a time because you don't want to try and put a bag that's already in a bag and kind of mix it up. You do have to be very careful when you're selling stuff to the merchant because there are a lot of really important items that you can accidentally misclick and sell. And let's see if I can make a good example of that. So let's take some items. I'm not sure if this will work. I think it might, but let's just test it. Let's find this bag that's got the wolf meat. So yeah, you see this bag's got wolf meat? Okay, it's not empty, so you can't sell it, but you'd have to be careful. There are some important items that you can very easily misclick and sell that you did not mean to. Another important mechanic to the game that they do explain in the tutorial, but I wanted to kind of clarify how that works, is repairing items. So for example, I have this, I mean, I don't have the repair materials on me to repair, but let's say I have this very good quality skinning knife. I could have bought this from a shop, I could have bought it from a player, I could have crafted it myself. But very good quality is not perfect quality. So it goes from like poor, decent, good, very good, excellent, perfect. And it has different mechanics for different things. In terms of tools and weapons, the quality doesn't seem to make any difference on the actual stats so much as soon as it goes really poor quality, it eventually break and you'll be forced to repair it. Things like armor, however, and I don't want to kind of do any spoilers. Let's look at this one. So this one's like an excellent quality hardened leather vambraces. Excellent is one step off of perfect, so if I fully repaired it up, it may give me like +1 armor stats on it. But if it was like a poor quality item and I upgraded it and got its quality all the way at the perfect, in most cases it would probably almost double its stats. So it's very important to keep your gear repaired. If you are a low blacksmithing level and you're crafting higher level gear, make sure when you craft it, you have enough resources to repair the quality and make the quality the best it can be, especially on your gear. And how do you do that? Well, there's 2 different ways. The first way is to press Alt-U, and that will open up the repair menu. So I can come here, I can take my leather bracers, stick them in here, and it tells me I need enchanted hardened leather. And it'll tell me how much I repair it by, what condition it'll take it up from and to. I think this scales based off of your level. If you don't have a high level or it doesn't repair much, Another thing you can do is you can come over to the respective repair guy. So let me go back here and I'll just show you, for example. I guess you don't need to be by the blacksmith just to check. Um, you can see here I just need iron bars to take it from very good to perfect, and my blacksmithing is so high that it's 100% repair amount. So no matter what quality, it would go straight to perfect. If I click repair, I'm not close enough to a repair station to repair this myself. So if I had the material, but now I'm not going to have the material. Some items require you to be next to the repair station. Another thing is if you don't have the skill, you can bring it to the vendors or trainers, vendors. If they have the title, they can repair it. So if I put this in him, he requires an iron bar. You can decide to buy it from the NPC if you don't have it, and he charges you money to repair it, and it tells you how much it repairs. I don't have iron bar. I don't think he sells iron bars, but let's just try it. Oh, there you go. And now I'm kind of curious, does he actually have iron bars? He doesn't. So you can literally pay NPCs to repair your armor, even if you don't have the materials to repair it. And this is great because as you get higher level and you get better armor, let's say you go and you don't have the skill level. Let's say, this armor piece right here, this is considered tier 2 armor. It takes about level 10 to 13 leatherworking to make, or a little bit less. Around level 10 leatherworking to make. But let's say you get the next tier up. And let's say the next tier takes like level 15 leatherworking to make and repair. And you don't have the skill level to get the materials to repair it. Because maybe you bought the piece of gear off another player or whatever. No problem. You take it to a blacksmith, leatherworker, and they will repair it for you. And you can just buy the mats or pay them for the mats to be able to do it. So, very handy. Very, very handy. All right, well, I think that's gonna about wrap it up. I wanted to mention one last thing, and I don't want to show my map just because, again, it's spoilers. The game is exploration, it's sandbox. There are a lot of things to keep in mind when playing this game is, as of right now and as of launch, player housing and guild housing is not going to be available. So this game is meant to be an open world sandbox game. If you are to rush out of the Star Island and get to the mainland within like the first day or two of launch, uh, the open world of the game is going to be massively empty. Um, you're going to run around, you're going to explore, you're going to spend hours on hours running around and potentially not finding anything. My biggest recommendation to you is don't follow coastlines. And that's a little counterintuitive. If you want to map the whole region, 100% you should follow the coastlines. You should follow the mounting lines. You will draw yourself a barrier. There are going to be many spots along the coastlines where you're simply going to have access to get across and potentially to a new land. But due to the way the game is designed and from my own experience of running around and exploring, a lot of the content is not going to be along the coast, along the mountain. There will be some caves, there will be some camps that are along it, but you're going to run for a very long time and not see anything. The only thing I could say is if you want to find content and you want to find it fast in the mainland, look it up online. Although I don't recommend that. That's kind of, I don't want to say it's cheating the game, but you're cheating yourself almost. Just pick a direction and run. When you hit a water line, change directions and just keep running. You'll eventually stumble across some things. Hopefully they won't be too powerful and one-shot you because dying is punishing and it's going to send you a lot far back. And if you've been running for hours and hours, it can be brutal. It will be brutal. But yeah, start slow, stay close to your towns, keep an eye out for those ley lines. They are hidden. If you go to the ley line in the starting area or you scroll back to part of the video on here, you can see the name of the towns where the ley lines are at. So if you find those towns, you can look for the ley lines. They're also hidden. One big thing that I think a lot of people are not aware of or potentially overlooking is that there are a lot of hidden caves in this game. And I would go show you one, but to give you an idea, the entrance to the cave can be as small as one line of blocks. You kind of see how this ramp is right here. You can imagine there's just 4 ramps, and you go right down, and you're in a cave. So if you're not paying attention, you can easily overlook a cave. There are a lot of monster areas that have little hidden underground zones. There are a lot of little nooks and crannies in the mountainside. You can be rewarded for exploring, and you can be rewarding for keeping a sharp eye. It's a game of exploration. It's a game of hidden mysteries. I don't want to say that there are a lot of them out in the mainland because that would just be false, but uh, you know, you need to keep looking. You need to keep an open mind. And this game isn't going to be for everybody, unfortunately. But if you do decide to try out the game and you decide you like it, and if you are going to be playing on the NA East no PvP server of Silver Lake, hit me up. We'll be playing a game. We'll be playing on launch. We have a good group of people right now, and we're always accepting more. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any other tips or tricks that doesn't break the line of being a spoiler, leave it in the comments. Let me know, and I'll try and make one more video before launch. Hopefully, I'll go over. They'll release a couple more updates, and we'll get a little bit more hope for the relaunch going smoothly and being a little bit more fun. But stay tuned, subscribe if you're not, and I'll see you in the next one.